So, basically, we have a special request from India. One of my subscribers messaged me and said he wanted to make this table in something. Asked the best software. I'll tell you right now, the best software to model something with this intricate detail is not Revit, and it's not. A Fusion 360 would be better. Even then, there are a lot other softwares that are a bit better. Hold on, let me change my music. Anyway, best thing to do, I am going to model it as close as best I can in Revit. So we're going to do the table first. We're going to start with the leg and we're going to load that into the table. I'm not going to do the chair in this video, but I may do that in the future. Again, I just don't think Revit is the best thing for something like this. There should be another Autodesk package, maybe Maya or I don't know, I haven't got much experience with those, where you could model something intricately like this with all of this detail and you could export it and bring it into Revit, which would probably be your best bet. But for the table, we're going to make it fully parametric, because everything I do, I want to do in a way where we can change it in the future. I'm going to make it as parametric as possible, but it is going to be a bit of a challenge. Yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Actually, before I get started, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to model this as one piece, this square part here. In terms of just the leg, I'll tell you the strategy of the table later. Well, I'll tell you in a minute. Then model this as another piece that's attached to that, and then model this as a piece, and then model those two as one piece. And then for the table, we're going to model the top and have its thickness parametric, and then cut along the edge like this, and then we're going to place these parts at the bottom. So for now, this video is just about the leg, and then in part 2 we'll do the top, and then in part 3 we'll do the actual detailing these little parts. Well, we're not going to go into this level of detail because Revit is just not good for that, but we will do these single straight lines and things like that. Even then, although I said Revit isn't the best for something like this, trying to make it as detailed as possible improves your Revit skills. So I'm going to load it into this project. You need to have a project to load it into so that you can play with it. It just doesn't really matter. All you have to do is say File, New, Project, and pick a template, and then you can load it in like that if you want that. You should really know how to do that. But I'm just going to load it into this one. If you want to know how to do this, check my YouTube channel for the grillage, crane grillage. It's a cool project. But for now, I'm just going to say File, New, Family, English, Metric, Generic. Whoa. Now, I'm going to make a face-based family, and it will... Where is it? Metric, generic, face-based. There we go. All will become clear later. So what we need to do, we're going to put, if we come to 3D mode, the top of the leg will be on this face and it will go up that way. So when we place it in, you'll understand later. There's no point in me really explaining it right now. But basically, we're going to model it upside down. That's all you need to know for now. I don't want to overload you with too much information because it just gets confusing. So first thing we need to do is make reference planes. Always make reference planes. Get into the habit of using reference planes. Do not dimension to faces or model from faces. I've made a sofa video in the past where I did that, but that was when I was less experienced. You can make a sofa, yes, but you can make things that way, but they can't be changed later. We like to make things that we can change later. So I'm going to select this, say CS for create similar. Come here so it's aligned. I'm going to make another one. And I'm going to make another one. I think I'm going to make 4. So the reason for that is the top is going to be here. So that's that line there. And then we want one line to represent that. And then the connect, sorry, the space, sorry, the connect, not connection. the gap here, not the gap, you know what I mean, the space between, there's no space between the area representing that, and then one there, and then one there, and then one there, so that represents the top, the actual base of the leg. So 1, which is already in, draw, draw, 3, 4, yeah? So 1, draw, draw, 3, 4. Cool, so the first thing I'm going to do is this square, and we need to come to floor plans. Select that, say CS for create similar. I like to keep them generally the same size. And one thing about these legs is they are based on a square. If you look at it, it's a square shape. So it's not rectangular, it's not longer in one plane. So I'll say DI for dimension, keyboard shortcut. I like to use keyboard shortcuts, it's faster. So I'll always tell you, if I say DI, means type DI straight together. Select this and say equal. Select that and say equal, so now they're locked. So if you extend them, that happens. And then DI again, from there to there, and there to there. Always do the equal first. And then select these, come holding control when you select each one. Come here and say new, we'll say big, well, width main. Like caps. Keep it as a type parameter. So now they're together. So the moment you extend one, that happens. Now, it's better to start working with whatever dimensions approximately you're going to use. Remember, we can change these in the future. I'm going to use 100 millimeters. So I can come here, select that, 100, and they both change. So now we're working with realistic numbers from the start. So I want to say create extrusion, set the work plane as the reference level. Pick lines, that, lock, that, lock, that, lock. Now you remember I didn't do that for this one, so drag it off, AL for align, that, lock, needs to be locked. TR for trim, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Say tick, yes, boom. Now I have it, and you see it's locked. I can't drag it off that work plane, and it gives me errors here if I try and drag it away, because it's locked to those reference planes. Now I'm going to name these 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to drag this one down to that reference plane, always to a reference plane, lock. Now if I move this reference plane, boom, changes. Now the next thing we need to do is this part here. I'm going to come back to these parts, yeah, they're slightly different. I want you to do the easier parts first. So that was a nice easy extrusion. This is going to be a nice easy blend, and that's going to be, these are both going to be sweeps. Ooh. Right, so that leg is going to go from here to here. Don't worry about the length for now. In fact, let's put the overall length up here so we know what we're working towards. Let's give it a parameter, call it leg length. We'll just call it length. Ooh, drop my microphone. Almost. So we want that to go from here to here, and then we're going to have something going on here and something going on there. So we know that this is called 2 and this is called 1. So the bigger part is up here and the smaller part is down there. Therefore, the bigger part is here and the smaller part is there, because we're working upside down. So come to floor plans and create blend. No, not yet. We're going to do that in a minute. Select these reference plane and say CS for create similar. Put one in there. We'll put smaller ones in so that we know that they're working together, just for our benefit. Oh, this album's pretty good. DI for dimension. If you don't really like these, like me, too big, just change the scale. So select these, equal, and you could do it together. You could literally just, if you didn't know, do it straight away. Yeah, even in dimensional mode, I keep forgetting. So DI again, that, and call this width small. Give it a name. I don't really care. 69. Ooh, very interesting number. We're gonna give it, I don't know. This is approximate. I don't have these dimensions. We're gonna say it has to be smaller than this bigger one. You know what? Make it 70. Done. We can always change it, of course, because it's parametric, as I said. And again, because they're equal, they're all going to be equal. So now we want to create a blend. Edit top. We want the top to be on level 2. On reference plane number 2. So I'll set reference plane number 2. No, sorry. Edit top will allow me to edit the top, so that means we're editing the bottom. So we're going to set it to reference plane 3. Yeah. So now we're drawing on 3. We're drawing on this reference plane. Remember that. Boom, boom. Oh, I forgot to lock the first one. Lock, boom, lock. Lock. Yep, so that's done. Now we're going to edit the top. And again, select these, lock, reference planes, lock. Choose the reference plane. Don't choose this little line here, because if you align it to that, you're going to have problems if you play with it in the future, potentially. Always dimension to reference planes, not to faces. Boom! I mean, okay, so I've done it a bit wrong. Don't worry. Double click it. I want to edit the top and set its work plane to number 2. There you go. Now it's gone the other way. Huh? Front. Okay, never mind. If this happens, you drag it down there to there and lock it. Yeah? Done. Now it's aligned to that work plane. In fact, let me show you something. What happened there is that the second end was set to 250. If I set that to 0, it will still work. Yeah? Because what was happening is it was offsetting the base of that. So even if I was to do that, it would still drag it. Yeah? So just change this to 0. You don't even need to do the other way. You can do the other way that I just showed you, or this way. Now, here's the interesting part. With these other parts, we're going to work with curves. So we can do a smart way. You know what? I am going to do a smart way. I'm going to pause this right now. Don't worry. For you, it will be instant. I'm going to think about how to make it smart so that we can make this fully parametric and keep the numbers good. Because what I was going to say is we're going to have a radius here and another one, well, maybe one there to represent this curve and then a smaller curve. But the problem is that if I was to change this later, those need to be thought about. And so if I don't make them parametric, this space might be too small and might break one of them and it will break the whole model. We don't want that. So let me think about this one. So don't worry, I haven't skipped anything. I'm going to show you what I've done here. I have made this parametric. I didn't, you know what? I knew I could do it, I just couldn't be bothered, but actually it is possible. So now, if I stretch this, well, that's independent, but the point is, there you go. See, I can't edit that one because it's locked, but I don't know why I can't move that one, but I'll investigate in a minute. But the point is, the moment I change H1 here, let's make it 300. Boom! But we're going to make it more something more reasonable, maybe 65 millimeters. There you go, and that makes it like that. You know what? I'm going to slide. When we do it, I'm going to change it. It's not going to have this flat bit here because... Oh, what's going on? It kind of looks like it doesn't have it there. This looks like it extends out a little and then curves. I mean, with all the detailing excluded. But then the bottom one won't have that. But it will still work, so don't worry about that. Yes, I thought I'd quickly show you. There you go. There's a little bit, and then the little gap inside. We'll do that. So I'm about to do that now. So I'm gonna fix the little gap. Don't worry about that. Let me open up the previous version. Right. So this is a good one actually. So we're gonna go to the front elevation, or any elevation really. Say DI there to there. Done. And we're going to put one from there to there as well. That one's for later, but don't worry about that. Well, just put it there for now. We're going to name this one, do it exactly like this, H1, name it whatever you want, but make sure it's a type parameter, and say OK. Same with this one. Name it H2, type parameter. Good. Now, we're going to use this value to give us the exact radiuses of the little curves that we're going to use to make this shape. This is going to be a slight straight line, then a curve, and then an inside curve, and then another curve. Okay, cool. So now we're going to use the sweep command, create sweep, pick path, this, that. Great, that's your sweep done. Don't need to worry about anything. That one's nice and easy. The slightly complex bit comes here when we edit profile. We're going to draw on this plane, so I will go to front view. I mean, it could be left view for you. It depends on where this crosshair was. If you can only select, or if you can only select this reference plane and not the one over here, then go to the opposite. So if you're on front and you can't see it, and you can only see this one, then go to left or right. So for me, it's front. On front, I can see it. It doesn't really matter which way, as long as you can see both reference planes. That's the only one you can draw on, because you can draw on it. Anyway, so now I want... What do I want? I was going to make a little line out here, and then a curve, and then a curve, and then a curve. But I don't think we need that. I think we can just curve it out. Yeah. Yeah, because over there it doesn't look... Yeah, that's even better. So, from there... No, sorry. Yeah, you select this. The curve by 3 points, start, end, radius. So 1, doesn't matter where. And you snap to the perfect round tangent. Yeah? And then you're going to do one from here to here and snap again. And then you're going to... Well, it's in chain mode, so I'm going to do the last one here. Snap to the perfectly round thing. Okay, now we're going to say DI for dimension, diameter. Make sure you pick diameter. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this diameter here. We're going to change the scale to 1 to 1, so it's nice and easy. Then we're going to pick to see that diameter, and then we're going to pick that diameter. So this length, and this length all need to equal 160. Yeah. So for these to adapt to that 160, we select each one. And we're just going to use percentages in this case. Well, that's what you have to use to do something like this. You select the dimension and then you come up to label. You say H1, R1. I'm just giving it a random number and code so I can recognize it. I've labeled this H1 and this is the first radius, and then this will be the second radius. We're not going to play with these in the future, so it doesn't really matter about naming them. These are just going to take dimensions in and calculate. So H1R3 is the final one, yeah? Now, I come here and I say H1R1 equals, remember, this has to have these settings, type only, yeah, for this to work. You can't make an instance parameter. So make this 0.85 times H1. And then make this one, no, well, we'll make it 0.8. Well, you know what, we'll make it 0.75. Because I want this one to be slightly smaller than the last one. So then 1 times H1. And then the last one has to be 1 minus these two, so 0.15. Yep, there you go. Apply. Constraints not satisfied. Okay, another thing, and don't worry about that, just remove the constraint. I think they were constrained to the reference planes. Oh, sorry, no. We need to do them one by one. So firstly, align that to that. Done. Sorry, I missed something. So leave those in. Those dimensions are fine that you've made in the labels. And now I'm going to drag this one down a bit. Ooh, that's the problem. So delete this one because they're all attached. So we'll name this one H1R1. That's fine. And then this one will be the label H1R3. So it's small. Now, you need to come to reference plane, say RP for reference plane, draw one here. And now to make sure it moves with this dimension, we're going to say DI for dimension, there to there. Call it H1R3 as well. So now they have the same dimension, so they will move together. See? Well, that changed that as well. These will rely on that, so if we change these, it will change that one. If we change that, it will change these. So just don't change these. So now I'm going to create another one of these. I'm going to come here and snap to there as well. Just make it a perfect tangent there. AL for align, that to that, lock. I'm going to move it from there to snap to that point. Yeah, it has to be snapped so it finishes in a loop. DI, let me change my tune. Diameter. And that will be H1R2. Boom. Now, we need this to be a closed loop. So I'm going to select this one and lock. We have that line there. Draw a line here. And draw a line here. I'm going to align that to this reference plane. Okay, we don't need to do that because it's constrained already to that snap point, yeah? So TR for trim. Cool. Let's come to 3D mode to see the extrusion in action. Boom. There you go. Now obviously that looks a bit fat. So what I'm going to do is change the dimension. H1, don't worry about these. Can we lock these? Nah, we'll lock them all. I'm going to change it to 65 millimeters. And as you can see, those changed to match. There you go, done. And you see that adapted as well. This is the beauty of this. We do this, so we don't have to redo work. And before I do the top one, I'm going to give these materials. We need to apply materials to these. So I'm just going to pick this one, put a material parameter on there. I like to do it parametrically, but you can just do it manually. But if I want to change all the materials at once, I can just change it from one button up here instead of changing each individual one, yeah? So material, there, done. Now it has a material parameter. I'm going to give these all that same material parameter, pick it, select that, and go to material. Now I can change all of these at once without highlighting all of them, which can be very useful with bigger, more complex families. Right, so we need to create a new family, so I'll say create new material. And I'm going to come here. Now that I have this one, I'm going to give it a wooden material. I'm just going to give it cherry. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So what you choose, you can always change it later. So I'm going to select this button here to give these assets to that. Well, probably this way with the camera inverted. So now, as you can see, this has taken on those properties. Just to give it an identity, we'll give it a wooden class. And we're going to name it wood cherry. There you go. Yeah. Graphics, use render appearance. I like doing that. Appearance. There you go. Apply. Okay. Apply. Great. Now it's all wooden. And now when we bring something else in, when we draw this last part, we can easily apply the material to it. And the beauty of this is we can change the length, and this will adapt. So change the length of this, the whole length, so 500. At the moment, these have their own dimensions, so we can change them to suit. As I've shown you how to change that one. And if we change the width as well, because this associates to the line of the edge, if we change the width main to 150, you can see that adapts. And if I change this one to 50, well, this has the same dimensions as that, so that's why it's fine. But we can see that only that changes. So I'm going to change these back to 175. Well, 50. Wow. I'll sort that later. Great. So that's that done. Now the last part we need to do is this part here, which we will model all as one piece, just like this part. Yeah, it's going to be the same, similar scenario, but slightly different shapes. But generally, the concept is the same, and when this width changes, that will adapt with it. So let's do that now. Ooh, I got this to work. Whoops. So that bit is going to have to be unparametric. Just this part, but the rest of it will adapt. I'm going to add the percentage system onto these curves as well. So yeah, I mean, they're not incorporated into this yet, but just like we did with these ones, like that. Oh, why does it do that though? Anyway, never mind, it's cool. You can drag that one up. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to change, so, you know, when we get to it, we'll talk about it. Talking about the dimensions, I was going to say, we're going to put a dimension from here to here and remove this one. We can't have all of them and have this overall one. So let me go into the undone one. Of course, that thing is adaptive lengthways as well as widthways with this thing. I'm going to go to plan view. No, I'm not. I'm going to go and create a sweep. Pick path, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Just remember, by the way, if you delete this element, those go with it. So that will go with that one, and if you delete this one here, that will go with it, because they depend on these for their sweeps. Also, if you change the profile, that will also go as well. But we're not going to do that. So anyway, edit profile just like last time. I need to go to front elevation and check if that's the right. Nope, it's going to be left elevation, so I can see the crosshairs there. Now, first things actually, I'm going to do. You know what? I'm going to come out of this, cancel it first. Make sure this is a good length. We want to make it realistic looking. I'm going to make that 100. This is what? Come to front. We have that's 100 mil. This one's 65. Yeah, it does need to be bigger, so we'll keep it at 100. At 100. Oh, actually, I haven't got a dimension from there to there in this version, so you probably don't either. Basically, if you have a dimension from there to there, delete it. This one to this one. Right. 3D, same thing. Create, sweep, pick path. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Now, is that going to be on the front this time? It's left again. Cool. Right. I'm going to come to plan view. I'm going to say type RP for reference plane. And I'm going to create a box. Another box, like a smaller one. Just like we did with these ones. This one and that one. If you remember. Boom, boom. Now DI for dimension. That equal. That one, that one, that one. Equal. You can't really pick these reference planes to delete in this viewing mode, but you can dimension to them and equalize them. DI. Whoops. DI again to here and here to here, and I'll call it. Oh, okay. We can't do anything with those yet. We'll do it in a minute. Right, now select profile, edit profile, this one, 3 points, tangent it, tangent that one. When I say tangent it, I mean it has to be the perfect semicircle, tangent them to each other. And then this one is going to go, you're going to tangent this one also, except this one is going to curve like that. So we're going to do it to that reference plane, but we're going to take it back to about there. So, same thing as last time. DI for dimension, diameter. Boom. Change this scale to 1 to 1. Boom. By the way, model these to the size you want. Make them look kind of reasonable in terms of their scale. So, because this is 100, this length here that I measured earlier, I know that this is 40%. So, because it's 40, it's 40% of the full length. So I'm just gonna use that scale. Say H2, because that's what this one's named. R1. That one will be H2 R2. And that one will be, well, we'll put one on here. We don't really need DI for diameter. We don't really need to put one on here. So that will be H2 R3. I'll put one on just in case. But we definitely don't need to put one on here. So this will go from there to the inside reference plane that we put. And we can tangent it or make it a bit less tangented. Well, in this case we can, but if you can't do that, do it slightly over, depending on your dimensions, and then select this fillet arc. No. So that does work, but what I meant was, let me do it differently. I want to show you a scenario of it in a different way. So come this way. This is going to be a small one, and 3-point curve to the inside. Oh, we can tangent it easily, actually. Don't worry about what I was complaining about. Anyway, now all that's left to do is put these lines on. That and lock, that reference plane and lock, and the center one and lock. Now TR, boom, 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 boom. There you go. And I like to look at it from 3D, so that's what we're going to do. It's going to sweep round. Boom. But what I forgot to do, well, let's give that the material first. See, now I just need to select that. That's why we do it that method of doing it, making it parametric. I only put the dimensions on, but I forgot to change stuff. We don't even need to do it from there anymore. We can do it all from here. This is where we do it from, actually. H2 R1 was 40%. Oh yeah, so there they are, 40%. So 0.4 times H2. Whoops. This one was 0.15 times H2. 0.2 times H3. Sorry, not H3, H2. Now when I come to left elevation, I move this. Ooh. Okay, so H3 needs to go. Okay, why does that have a... Ah, never mind. Cool. What we need to do, create a reference plane, RP, DI, just like earlier. Reference plane to reference plane. This needs to have the same dimension as that. It's H2R1. Boom. What is that doing? Stretch that over. And I can put this down and lock it. Sorry, I'm going to get into that in a minute. This one I'm just going to undo, cancel. Delete that. And delete this. I need to put another arc down. Tangent it. And AL for align that to that and lock. So that it's aligned to the reference plane only and not to this. You align them to each other, you got trouble, just like I did. DI, diameter, that one, select H2R2 because that's what we set up earlier. Oh, coincidentally, same size. I'm going to delete this one now and create a new one. Again, separate, just make it look right. Move. Well, no, select this. Well, just type RP for reference plane, put it there, DI for dimension there to there, and make that H2R2. Now move this in place. Well, no, we're going to align AL that to that. Whoops, I forgot to lock. Control Z. I like to make it off because I need to make sure I'm aligning to this. If I made it in place, I wouldn't know if I'm aligning to that point, and it's very hard to tell in this particular case because they're both curves and they don't have any differing names for Revit to say anything. Anyway, that to that. Now, what's the radius of that? I'm going to hit this to make a dimension. select that, say new H2R3. Or 4. You know what, I'm calling them R's, but they're actually diameters, so it doesn't really matter, but it's just a code. So I do know they're not radiuses, these ones. This one's a radius though. I'm going to come here and I'm going to go to R4 and I'm just going to lock it because I want it to be locked to that number. I don't care about anything else. Now, 3 points. 1, 2. I'm going to delete this one also. 3 points. There. There. See, now it's going over this. Yeah? So I don't want it to do that. Come here like this. This is what I was going to talk about earlier, actually. This is what I wanted. The curve to come that way. And then I can fillet the arc there to there. If you go like that, it's a mistake. You need to make sure it's down here. Sometimes it may be too small to see. Don't dimension these, they're fine. So, pick lines, that, trim. So I didn't cut any of this out because I need you to see that mistakes do happen. Ooh, that doesn't look nice. That doesn't look right. Oh, it is. I'll delete that and then tangent again. I want it to be okay. You see, this shows you a bit of the trouble you'll go through. Perfect, like when you do intricate details like this. So I'm not cutting this out. You need to see this is what it's going to be like. So make it more of a sharp angle here, because going through tutorials I went through a lot of issues. Well, actually, that is a good tangent. Good fillet there. Because it's so small, you can't really edit it much. I think it looks worse than it is because it looks like it's straight lines when you zoom in, but it's actually a curve. Revit knows it's a curve and it's modeling it as a curve. So, say yes. Yes. Now when I stretch it, see? We have to align this. AL, align, that, lock. Boom. Again. Now we got something. But you see, there's problems with the curves here. So this is not the best way to do it. Point is, I wanted you to see it because some of you will be able to develop your own ways to fix that, I'm sure. I can make it smaller though. That smaller is good. Wow, undid a bit too far. There you go. Hold on. So you know what, I just realized something. I want to add this little part here because that's what would happen. That's what would be added on. We're gonna all I did for that one front, I added another reference plane above here, which is 5 millimeters above, and I deleted this dimension, which went from here to here. Yeah. I then added 5 mil to that. So this was going from this reference plane to this reference plane. I hit delete. I then went to this point, I went to length, and I changed it from 1100 to 1105, adding the 5, yeah? DI for dimension, I then dimensioned from here to the new reference plane, and gave it that length. I then edited this, which didn't look like that. It didn't have this piece on here. It was, so I edit this, trim that to that. It was like that before. I double clicked, pick lines, that line, lock, and I drew a line inside here. Whoops, ooh. Trim that to that, that to that, that to that. You could put a reference plane and dimension and align it there, but I'm not going to. Instead, say OK. Yes, and then we go to 3D view and we see that little block there. So there you go, that's how you do that. I didn't go into detail with that one because now you need to start thinking for yourselves. I did explain the full process, but a little bit of difficulty is good. Just remember that. But I did explain exactly everything I did to get that. So part 2, I'm going to load this into another family file, which in that family file we're going to make the table, the top flat part, and then in part 3 I'm going to add the little detailings on the front, so on the sides. So please stay tuned for that.